All right, Derek, why don't you start us off? What's the key thing here?
Well, I'll add one more headline that just crossed the wire. It says China-U.S. agree to push forward trade investment ties. So these talks, the relationship between China and the U.S. has to continue. It is continuing in some form. But let's be really clear. Joe Biden, on his very first international trip as president, is going to meet with G7 allies and talk about some things that are going to put a little bit of strain on that West-China kind of dynamic. Particularly, I'm thinking, you all mentioned this in the introduction, about some of these supply chain ties. You're talking about, anytime you're talking about forced labor and supply chain, even if someone doesn't say the word China, what they're meaning is China, especially in solar, especially in cotton. And we've seen already what China does and how they feel in response to these talks about Xinjiang and supply lines. So all of that is very kind of touchy territory. It comes with a certain amount of risk. It also comes with a certain amount of questions afterwards just on logistics. And I know I'm a detail person, but a lot of these things, if you're talking about, I want to do X, Y, Z on supply chain with solar, where are you going to put it? How are you going to do that? How much investment? There's a lot of questions that these big statements kind of put forward.
Derek, we have another line that's crossing the terminal. This is a redhead now. So this is what you mentioned, in fact, at the top of your hit, and rightly so. China and the US agreeing to push forward, just underscoring this for you. China and the US agreeing to push forward with trade and investment ties. This is the first time we've had a clear line on this focus of pushing these things forward in terms of trade and investment ties, despite that blacklist and the update that you got there. Of course, overnight we had the news that the US has changed the way they look at WeChat and TikTok and removed that ban. We know the Commerce Department is going to be involved in drawing up a new review as well. Derek, in terms of what we're seeing on the COVID-19 investigation, it seems like, according to Bloomberg's reporting, that you're going to get more alignment, at least at the G7, for a push for a second investigation. What do we know at this stage? What can we expect from China?
Yeah, that's right, Tom. You are going to be seeing a little bit more, and I think you've seen, certainly in the last couple of weeks, a little bit more from the Western nations in terms of wanting to understand the possibility of, I would say, almost a reemergent thesis that potentially there could have been something involving a leak from the laboratory in Wuhan. Not intentional weaponization, but like a leak, an accident, something happens, who knows? And this is something that has been talked about for a while. Donald Trump's officials were talking about it when he was president, but it's kind of gained a lot of credence, I think, in the last maybe month, and you can expect the West to push for it. At the same time, I don't know. I mean, we both follow China pretty closely, I think. I don't think either of us necessarily think that China is going to welcome anything like that with open arms. So it remains to be seen kind of what that looks like. Who would do such a review? Are there going to be reviews again? I don't know. I can see why people are pushing for it, both on a political advantage and also on a sort of holistic, let's understand the pandemic so we can prevent it from happening again kind of fronts. China may not decouple those fronts, so it's hard to see what progress forward on that issue looks like in practice.